Welcome, Hall. Shall I say welcome to the Madhouse. We're the 18th tonight, so I'm going to firstly bring on my co-hosts, as yesterday, Andrea and Andrea. So we're bringing them on. Please all share this, by the way, guys. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Share.
How are you
Sharing
both?
is caring.
Sharing is
How are you both?
I'm good. I hope you're well as well, Adam,
I'm
and
not.
you, Andrea.
always. This is like a most amazing connection. I just can't stop laughing.
Can I
Well,
say,
at least we get to
Andrea?
laugh.
Can I say, right, this, ladies and gentlemen, we've got Andrea Evans wanting to play hide and seek with us, because
Yeah.
she keeps disappearing, and we've got
It's not
Andrea
me.
Mason that looks like she wants to go and play tennis.
It's not me. It's
Yes.
not me.
And then it says princess.
Do better, StreamYard.
You're a princess, are you?
Of course.
Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Well, anyway, challenge time. So obviously we've got me, my name, and Andrea Mason's on here. So I'm gonna spin it, and Andrea Evans is gonna choose the challenge for whoever it lands on. So
I can't see that.
It's Adam. He's blue. Woohoo!
oh, fuck.
What color?
Oh.
What was that?
I said, what color am I? And don't be a smart butt and tell me I'm brown.
I removed you because you said you didn't want. You said you didn't want to take part.
Okay, but y'all
Andrea,
wasn't
you
gonna make me pour water on my head, so
No,
I'm
no.
down.
Andrea, you give Adam a challenge. I gave him one last week.
Okay, Alan, you ready?
Alan?
Alan?
I'm sorry,
Who's Alan?
Oh Lord, y'all know I don't even know your name right now. Okay, Adam, here's the challenge.
That's the challenge to go play hide and seek. There you go. No, I'm joking.
I need you to do something poetic in introducing yourself.
Hmm.
And I'll give you I'll even do it. I'll jump in and do it first.
Go on then.
Okay. My name is Andrea. They call me Dre. Hey, 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 hey. Keep tuning in with us and stay.
I can't top that. Right. Stay. No, I can't. I can't.
All you got to do is write it down.
You have to.
Look, I wrote mine down, and then I said it.
Ah, I've got something.
All right.
Stay. Not like me, that's turning grey. My name's Adam. Sometimes I'm Madam, but I'm here to. I don't know.
And your name's not Alan.
It's not Alan.
Good job.
Right. Anyhow.
So we both did it. What about you, Andrea? Are you gonna do it?
All right. My name is Andrea. I came to play. So every Friday, check out. And where did you go?
This is a pop, isn't it?
I came to play, and every Friday is your way to stay. So don't delay.
Hey.
Okay, all right. You win that one. Anyway, we have got a guest that has got one hell of a story. And ladies, are you ready to take a trip down into Wonderland?
We're going
Let's
down
do it. Let's
Yes.
do it. I'll be Alan.
Alan.
Anyway, right, so I'm going to bring Allison Frye on. I probably got her surname absolutely wrong. I always do. So please share this all and let's have fun. Welcome, Allison.
Thank you.
Hey.
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 How are you?
The rapping. It was great. I'm good. How are
Thank
y'all?
you.
I'm crap at rapping.
You only
That's
rap
not my cup of tea.
skips.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
You did a good job, Alan.
Yeah.
Thanks. Should I change my name to Alan then?
No, Adam. I like Adam. I called you Alan. Yeah, because I was
Why?
talking to my cousin Alan. So you became Alan for a few seconds today.
Well, if it makes you feel better, you did pronounce my name correctly.
Woo.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
Yes.
Brilliant. So I do get things right then, Andrea.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Right. I want to kickstart by trying to count
Welcome.
to try and find Andrea. No, I'm joking.
Welcome. Welcome. Welcome.
And please chip in and ask questions whenever you want. Start by introducing who you are, where you come from, and all that, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'm Allison Frye. I am a mental health advocate. So I run the Allison in Wonderland mental health podcast. And I also am a life coach, coaching in Wonderland. I just stay in Wonderland all the time. It's just, like this entire state of being for me. I've actually been in marketing for more than 20 years, but I lost my brother in 2007 and my mother in 2010 as a result of suicide. And that started my journey through mental health awareness. I received 2 degrees in psychology. I've done a lot of work with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And so I've really had about 15 years of mental health advocacy work. And now that I am a recent empty nester, I'm really making sure that all of that extra mom time that I used to spend volunteering at the school and driving kids around, I'm actually able to focus on the mental health advocacy. So that is, how I came to be on this journey through Wonderland.
Wow. Anything, ladies?
No, welcome. Great courage, bravery, and that's what it's about. It's about excelling in your passions and your life experiences to help others. So thank you for that. Absolutely.
And I'm
Andrea?
sorry to hear about what you had to go through, trigger warning. But I'm happy to hear that you're taking it and utilizing it to help others. I'm also about suicide prevention. I'm part of Hope Squad as well as the Association of Suicide Prevention. So welcome. And I hope your journey has been a great one coming from the tragedy that you had to endure.
I'm still here, and that is every day like a win.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly as it is. Every day is a win because we get up and we're always grateful for being here.
Mm-hmm.
But not many people are grateful for what they have.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it's really, I think that people will be like, "Oh, you've lost just so much," because I've gone through more than just those two losses, and I just tell people I'm so blessed. I have so much. So I think that really being able to see that it's not just the things that I've lost, but also the things that I'm blessed with is really it helps put it into perspective. It's almost like if you had a pro con list, but it was like a bad crap that's happened in your life and good crap that's happened in your life list. It balances out a lot better if you pay attention to the good things as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
how did it all start? Obviously, not you getting on this journey, but obviously, if it's comfortable with you to talk about it, how you found out you had issues which needed to be dealt with.
Yeah, absolutely. I really mark the beginning of like my mental health journey as losing my brother in 2007. But then as I've, gone through therapy for what seems like my entire adult life now, I realized that really there was childhood trauma and my mom was bipolar. So I grew up in a house with mental illness. I did not realize it. So I've really learned a lot about how that even though like my journey of learning about mental health started when Kevin passed away in 2007, it's really just been my entire life. I actually had a mindfulness coach one time tell me that my stress level is like I've been stressed since I was in the womb because my mom had mental health issues. And so, like most people's stress levels are kind of like they have a baseline. And then when they get stressed out, it spikes. But that spike level is where this mindfulness coach told me that I always was. Like I'm always at that level. So it's a lot of just trying to figure out how to deal with like all of the things in my head all the time.
Yeah.
And I do think it's always really funny. I talk about the people that have fired me. She tried to send me to a hypnotherapist. He fired me. She fired me. I had a voice teacher fire me for being hopeful, like completely hopeless when it came to singing. So it is a journey and it's a lot of about, I think, self-discovery. You can't just go see a therapist or go see someone and expect a pill or a conversation to fix everything. You have to really look at yourself and do a lot of self-analysis and a lot of discovery to really find that path and see, okay, these things happened. And I never say everything happened for a reason because like I absolutely could not say that and then look at the losses that I've had. But I can see like the butterfly effect that those traumas had on how I am today and how the Allison of 2007 is just like a faint memory to the Allison that is today.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
And
Where
that's,
does Wonderland come in at?
yeah.
Honestly, like the domain name was available. And I'm a marketer, so the fact that AllisonInWonderland.com was available within 1 week, I had all of the marketing and the website and everything because I was just like, well, that's perfect.
Well, if you think about it, you're wandering, you could look at it two ways, wandering the land to really find your identity, which we spoke about last week, and also wondering, getting that self-inventory, that self-assessment of, okay, why did this happen? And understanding that, the cliche, life happens for you, not to you. And it's the lessons that of loss that we engulf that we can either embrace and enlighten others and encourage others to empower themselves, or it could be the dimmer part of it where we just kind of take it and keep it suppressed inside.
Yeah, absolutely. And since I started with the Wonderland theme, I actually did a lot of research on Allison in Wonderland and Lewis Carroll and his life and things like that. And so, like, I talk a lot about going, falling down the rabbit hole and looking through the looking glass into mental health. But, it's interesting. I always talk about falling down the rabbit hole. And I had remembered this piece from when I was getting my master's in psychology about the two, like, innate fears that we have. And the fears that we're born with as humans are falling and loud noises. Actually, not even as humans, as mammals. It's how we survive. We don't want to walk off a cliff, and we hide when there's a loud noise. And so I think it's really interesting that this falling down a rabbit hole ties to that one base fear that we're all born with, falling. And so it's kind of like then taking stock of everything and sorting it out when you end up in Wonderland or wherever you end up. Neverland, I don't know, some magical place.
Yeah, well, either way, don't get me started on rabbit holes. Come on.
Yes. We're gonna let Adam go down a rabbit hole about rabbit holes.
I'm down many rabbit holes. I really am. But anyway, just take over because I'm just need to deal with the kids a minute. So I'll be back in a minute.
You chose to respond. How you chose to respond. It is about how we respond to things too. That's a big deal. And you chose to respond in a manner that is making you victorious, and helping others to reach that victory as well, because you're reaching others and helping them through what you've been through. You are what others need.
And I don't even know that it was so much a choice. I completely broke when my brother passed away. And the choice that I had there was like, I have little children and I have to be alive tomorrow. And that was as much as that. That didn't mean I could get out of bed. That didn't mean I could stop eating peanut butter straight from the jar and just eat away all my feelings. But then eventually I did get out of bed. So like at that point, the choice was I have to make sure that I am still here tomorrow. I couldn't just like crawl in after him and go with my brother. And I didn't understand any of this at that point. But then over the years, at first, when the first week that we lost my brother, I didn't even know how to tell people. I didn't know what to tell people. I was just like, there was an accident. It took me a little bit to even understand the terminology or to be able to put into words what had happened. And as I learned those things through online research, because I'm one of those people where if I don't understand it, I'm going to go find it online somewhere. That's when I became more comfortable about talking about it. And I started wearing suicide prevention shirts and things like that. And I realized how many people would walk up to me in a store and be like, I lost my dad 20 years ago and I've never talked to anybody about it because no one talked about it. So it was one of those things that they never felt like there was an okay place to talk about it. So I eventually started to realize I need to talk about suicide prevention and mental health all the time because that makes people realize that it's okay to talk about. Now, that doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong if you keep your mental health struggles to yourself, but just know that there are other people out there that are going through the same thing that you can talk to.
Absolutely.
I think that's important. The more that we heighten the awareness of mental health, the heighten the awareness of suicide, that it opens up conversations. It eliminates the judgment. It eliminates the lack of knowledge. It eliminates the stigmatism of it. And the more, that's what we need to be doing on a daily basis, is talking about what's not being talked about, because the more we, like I mentioned before, the more we suppress it, the more we keep it on the hush, the more it's going to occur. Unfortunately, that's the reality, because you feel invincible. You feel like you're the only one. And as you said, Allison, is when we wore the shirts, other people were like, oh, someone can relate, someone can connect, And when I attended the walk for suicide prevention, it was just, there were tears, there were, memories, there were stories and everything, my best friend. And it's not easy, but it's people like us on the panel that have the strength to say, let's talk about it. You're not alone. You don't have to be on this journey alone.
And it's not a linear process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You like you said, it's not like, okay, you went from these tragedies and said, hey, I'm getting ready to make a conscious decision. This is what I'm going to do. No, you had to deal with the grief, and you will continue to deal with that. We continue to deal with grief for the rest of our lives.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think I always get very frustrated when people are like talking about the stages of grief and they're like, where are you on the stages of grief? And I'm like, well, it depends on the day of the week. Like, so
Exactly.
the Monday after next, I'm taking work off. I have a couple of days a year where I just take off work, and it's the anniversary of my brother's death. And so I am probably more likely to rage out if someone pisses me off. So I take, July 10th off. I just do. And, it's been since 2007, but I'm always going to have grief because I love, my mom and my brother and, other people that I've lost. And the grief is just the way it's like part of loving them after they're gone.
That's
I understand.
right.
I understand that. Yeah, obviously, I'm not the same situation, but obviously, I've got a daughter that was taken away and put in the system. Obviously, no fault of mine, and that's me grieving for her. Even though she's still alive, I'm still experiencing that grief. So I totally resonate with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can go through stages of grief for all types of things. And I think a lot of people think, oh, you grieve for people that have passed away, but it's really anything, any loss.
It's anything, yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's important that we heighten the awareness that allow yourself to feel, because the more you feel, the stronger you're going to heal. Because if like for me, I totally suppressed when I lost my mom, to medical conditions, but I just went right to work, kept grinding and grinding. And it was only like not 8 or 9 years later, it hit me because I was just pushing it aside. I was just like, it's not real. It's not real. She's just not picking up the phone, or she's just not there. And grief for me, when I actually dealt with it, like you said, Allison, I had 5 stages in one day. You go from crying to memory, you go crying from loss, you go laughing from the memories and stories, then you go to fear, like, oh my goodness, it's really hitting me, it's a reality. It's just all the different stages. And I think
in denial as well.
Yeah, and denial, like it's not, like I said, for years I would go to her gravesite, and it was over 2-hour drive one way. Every day for 2.5 years, I did that. I dismissed all my family, like state of emergency, you name it. And it wasn't until a family member said, she's not there, she's here.
I betcha.
And that changed my channel, my perspective changed. And I was like, okay, I got to feel through this in order for me to heal.
Yeah.
And maybe
it's interesting because it's different. Oh,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's also different. Like I always tell people that the way I grieve is not the way someone else will grieve, but also my grieving process for everyone I've lost has been completely different. So I just completely fell apart when my brother passed away. But I thought that I had like built myself up to this much stronger person. So then 3.5 years later, when my mom passed away, I was like able to handle all of the details and all of the arrangements and all of these things so that my brothers and sisters didn't have to do it. And I thought, oh, it's because I'm so much stronger now. But really, it was like, then it snuck up on me, like after all of those things had been done. And it was like sneaky grief where I thought, oh, okay, I've got this down, I'm good. And so I grieved in a completely different type of way for my mom, like when it was my turn to grieve, because I was in like big sister mode the whole time.
Yeah, so do you think so do you think you was wearing all these masks at different days, different times for different people?
Oh,
I think
absolutely.
I'm in denial constantly then.
Constantly.
Maybe because I look at it as my grandmother's the monarch butterfly that flies up and lands on me. Or I see my grandmother when things are going rough, the red cardinal appears before me, So I don't know, maybe that could be looked at as denial, but that's my way of dealing with it, because it's going to be a lifelong thing for the rest of my life. For the rest of our life, we're going to grieve our loved ones. It shouldn't be seen as stages or a linear process, because, like you said, and Andrea, you went through all the stages in one day, if you're going to look at it that way.
Yeah.
But you're going to be at different stages if you're using the stages.
Right. Right.
Anyhow, moving on. But we got what she was trying to say.
Yeah, no, but I don't think it's denial, Andrea. I think it's your coping techniques and skills that works for you. So I wouldn't dismiss denial. I would replace that. I mean, I'm big about words and big about vocabulary and mindset. I would replace denial with your different coping techniques.
I like that. That's better.
The monarch butterfly. Yeah, I mean, that's like really how you remember, kind of like how some people will go to, the graveside to remember and things like that. It's like everyone has their places. I'll flip through pictures. I think we all have our way, and it's just what we do to remember, and kind of how we feel that connection.
That's right.
Exactly, and people need to realize what works for someone may not work for another.
Right.
Exactly. It's what works for you at the time.
I could meet somebody that's
she lost her son, and every now and then she reaches out to me and tells me how much she misses him and stuff. I mean, that's a child.
There's no right or wrong way. We must understand that there's no right or wrong way. Because again, going back to what I said, you cannot suppress or dismiss your emotions. Allow yourself to feel so you can then eventually heal.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So where do we go from here? Maybe we'll talk about how you chose to use your experience into helping others deal with their challenges.
Yeah, so really it just came to the fact that I found the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention very shortly after my brother passed away, and I volunteered with them for years. And then I got to where I was talking a lot about mental health. I was doing some of their Talk Save Lives talks, and I did pursue a couple of degrees in psychology just to learn things. I was just like, I just want to know more. I'll get bored and be like, oh, let's sign up for college again. But then with the podcast and all of the advocacy taking kind of a supercharge since my empty nest, it was really my 19-year-old. The last week of November of 2022 was like, Mom, you talk about mental health all the time. Why don't you just start a podcast? And seriously, like that day I found the domain, and since I'm in marketing, like the next day I had a website up. I had just been to this like mental health marketing conference, so I already had a pool of people to be guests. So I was like, cool, let's start a podcast. And it's really just kind of grown from there, where it's like, okay, this voice that I have, it needs to be out there more. It's not just who I run into in the grocery store and things like that. I know that someone hears my story and it's going to help somebody out there.
Yes.
And if I can just help two people to kind of balance the loss, then I feel like that's something. My son always reminds me, he's like, oh, it's actually one person, but that's because there was a teenager when he was in school that was friends of a friend of his. And I was always known as like the suicide prevention person. People would call me and be like, I'm worried about my sister. I'm worried about this. And so I was always helping people get in touch with resources. And my son also became that person. And so a friend told him that a friend of theirs had attempted to take his own life. And I went through the whole mom tree. I tried to hunt down this kid's parents. I could not find them. So the next morning, I sat in the very dark school parking lot waiting for the school resource police officer to show up to go, tell them. And at first, the kids were mad. They were like, why'd you go tell your mom? And a year later, this same kid ended up being friends with my son. And he was in my dining room and he called me downstairs and cried and just told me that I saved his life. And that is like a moment that I will never forget, where I'm like, okay, maybe I have annoyed some people. I've had some people get mad and be like, just because I posted this on Facebook, it does not mean I am suicidal.
Exactly.
So I have pissed people off by hunting them, like their family members, down because I'm worried about them. But it makes it all worth it, knowing that there was a child that, you know, felt like I actually needed someone to tell my parents. I actually needed that help at that time. And you, being the annoying person that you are, is the reason that I got it.
You know what? I totally resonate with that. And this is why I'm smiling about it, because there's been many times when I've posted on social media how I'm feeling. And I've had comments saying, take this down. It's not looking good for you. It's not going to look good for the Warriors. But it's like, no, I'm not going to take it down, because at the end of the day, I'm expressing how I feel. Why should I be silenced by that?
Right.
Yeah, and it's back to that, you know, what face are you putting on? I mean, I am always putting on a silly, giggly, pink-haired, you know, geeky,
I love
happy
your hair.
face. Thank you. This is what you do when you've got gray. You just go pink. But I'm always putting on that face. I've always got this very upbeat, but then I am very drained later. And it's not like I'm definitely an extrovert, but I'm also an introvert in the sense that I have to go kind of have my moment. But people would not the moments that I have where I'm crying for no reason and things like that. No one sees that, but it happens.
No, they don't.
There are moments when I'll go sit in my husband's office while he's on like a Zoom call, and I'll have to get off the Zoom call, and I'm just like, I'm having a panic attack and I don't know why. And, you know, and I think that it's important for people to realize that I've studied mental health. I have, you know, all of this stuff, but that does not mean that I don't struggle with mental health still. Like it's not like it's, oh, okay, you've done all this studying, you've been in therapy your whole life. Great. Now you're better. No, I'll still cry. I still have panic attacks. I still have moments where I'm just freaking out. People just don't see that online so much.
This is what I mean.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah. Were you going to say something, Andrea?
No, I mean,
it's a work in progress. That's it.
Yeah.
No, right.
And I think
what I'm going to get used to, you're Andrea, you're Andrea. How's that?
and that's why, you know, for me, I kind of use the outlet of my videos or my posts or my daily videos, because I have a difficult time, because I've done it for so many years, splitting the hairs of, okay, this is how you're supposed to act, but this is how you really feel. So there's been posts, there's been comments where I'm either crying on the memoriam of my mom, my best friend, my dog. I mean, but that's what we have to lift from society, is the stigmatism that on air, you're in this role, at home, you're at this role. When you find that seamless cohesiveness and feel comfortable, it doesn't happen overnight, but you can be who you are on camera. That's when you achieve personal freedom, and you can help even more people, because they've seen you when you're in your pajamas. They've seen you when you've been running. They've been seeing you when you're eating or tired or sad, because it's that human connection that is lost so much lately, because we have been placed in what looks on the screen right now, quadrants, compartments. Andrea is the empathy, vulnerability warrior. That's a mouthful. Allison is in Wonderland. Adam is the mental health warrior, and I'm of Press Play, Plan Life According to You, How to Achieve Personal.
I'm an average Joe.
And he's Alan too.
Alan as well.
You said you're an average Alan.
But
yes, I'm an Alan today. Yeah.
But that's what it is. We have to sever the boundaries and lines that we're so different, and shift it to what makes us different, makes us authentic, and we fill each other's gaps. And once we do that, it's possible. And this is the platforms, this is the topics, these are the reasons why we're doing what we're doing in our areas.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm actually going to pull up Robert Brooker's comments here, which is absolutely brilliant. Like, obviously, he's expressing how he feels, and he's right. He should never apologize for how he feels. And this is what I always say on these lives. If it offends people when people swear, that's not my problem. That's their problem. And it's not our intention to trigger or offend anyone. But it's if people swear, cry, we've had people on here that swear, rant, cry, whatever. That's them expressing how they're feeling towards that situation. Because what we do is we're getting stories where we're taking them way back to how they were.
Right.
We're putting them back in that situation, whether they were getting abused, whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, manipulation, narcissism, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're doing.
And the more that we apologize, the more we are feeding into the stigmatism and
Exactly.
adding on to the victimization that is not us. It's not a reflection of us. What has done to us is a reflection of the individual, and it's how we handle it and move forward from it and learn from it. You know, Allison, you said, you know, it really took a harder toll on you, the passing of your brother, than it did your mother. And I'm sure there's a lot of people like, how could that be? That's your mother. And you're like, well, it's a different relationship. It's a different time.
Yeah.
Like I always say, every loss is a lesson for the next experience.
It does happen a lot where people, I'll tell them about my losses and the response is, wow, it's terrible that you lost your mom so young. When really, in my mind, I think sibling loss is just, people don't realize how important sibling loss is, because your parents are kind of at a distance from you in your lives, but your siblings are who you go through life with. They're the person that goes through everything in life with you. So I think that's why it's harder, because my identity was very tied to my big brother and to being Kevin's little sister and it being Kevin and Allison all of the time.
Shadowing them, yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I was like always like kind of on his heels, like, you know, the one that would force myself into hanging out with his friends, even if none of them wanted his geeky little sister there. So I think that it really depends on the relationship between the people. And for me, the sibling loss was definitely harder on me than the loss of my mother, and probably for a lot of reasons.
And I think what happens with the story that you have, in one aspect, as morbid and distasteful as this sounds, our parents are supposed to go before us. But at the same token, it's when you go through the loss, it's, you know, when you lose a family member, it's like you said, the journey of your brother, you're going together, that you're going through the journey together, and now your sidecar is gone. And then with your mother, and then it could go to, well, how did they do it? Which was more severe? Because you have those people who really want to go that dark place. And, you know, like Robert had said and commented, I'm a big believer you don't have to explain yourself to anyone.
Right.
You don't have to explain your emotions. You don't have to explain your situations. If you are ready and willing to, by all means, but never feel you are obligated and give permission and power to that individual by feeling you have to explain yourself or apologize.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know when my mom passed away that my aunt, who was her little sister, there was one point when she was crying and telling me that I shouldn't have been the one having to take care of her, but I had been through the sibling loss, and I remembered people not feeling like sibling loss was as important. So like it when my aunt was in that place because she lost her big sister, I definitely could see how I had felt and how I felt like people thought that I was, you know, maybe overreacting with my grief with my brother. And then my aunt then went through that.
Right.
It's really interesting. But then she felt like she had to apologize that I was having to like console her in the moment, where, you know, really like I could have consoled her or not. Like really, like, you know, she was in her grief. I chose to go and console her in the moment. And that wasn't something she forced on me.
And like I said,
and you know, our expectation of loss
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to funeral homes. I've unfortunately been started at such an early age with my paternal grandparents at the age of 13. And when you see loss, some I didn't cry, some I did cry, some I wailed. Like, you were like, oh my gosh, are you like, like somebody was like attacking me. When my best friend, I was just, I couldn't take, I could barely breathe, and his family wasn't even feeling that. And it wasn't right or wrong. It was just different levels. Some just kind of left the site. Others had just kind of cried and then just talked about it. Others laughed by memories and legacies that they're leading and continuing with for that person's life. So, like I said, I really want people in our audience to really understand there's no right or wrong way of grieving, but the wrong thing is to choose not to. Again, I can't stress anymore. Allow yourself to feel so you can then heal.
Keep in mind too that our expectations of loss, because
Oh no, she was going to do something good then.
am I back?
Yes, you're
Hello.
back.
I lost a grandchild, and she was only 2 months old.
Mm, mm.
Oh,
Oh no.
It doesn't have to be someone who's older because they're older, or we're looking at it like, well, I'm the parent, I'm supposed to go first.
Right.
That's not realistic that I've realized because I lost a grandchild.
Yeah, I think that's important too. When I talk about my mental health journey, it always starts with the suicide of my brother and my mother. 5 years ago, I lost a sister to cancer. And I thought that knowing that she had been sick this whole time and knowing that she wasn't going to be in pain anymore, I thought that meant that I would be like at peace with that. But I just completely like wailing, like you had said, Andrea, like at the funeral, and it shocked me. It shocked
Yeah.
me that I was reacting that way because the other losses had been so sudden and so shocking and so tragic that I thought that was, if you know what's coming and things like that, then you're prepared. You're kind of grieving ahead of time. But I mean, it's like all of these different types. Like you can grieve. Like if I lost someone tomorrow, heaven forbid, it would probably be a completely different grieving process than anything I've ever been through because I haven't seen any two of my grieving processes be the same ever.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I want to not lighten it too much or step aside, but it also, like for me, for some of the viewers out there, it also can be a pet. I mean, I've had dogs all my life, and then it was the last one that I had when he was 4 weeks old to 16, and he thought the world ended. And it's just, I believe it's the connection, the situations, the timeline that you go through that we said in the beginning of the segment, what makes us different makes us unique, but we all have that common book of life, a thread of where you are in the chapter. And, it would be kind of weird if you had the same reaction with everybody because some people would categorize that as you being numb. Oh, it's just another person who's lost. It's another person who's, done what have you. But like Andrea, Adam, and Allison has said, it's different for everyone.
It is.
Predict
And I
it, you
think
can't
that
prevent it.
Yeah, and I recently introduced a segment of my podcast called "Shit Not to Say When People Are Grieving," and the pet thing reminded me about that because I've had a lot of people tell me things, that have just been horrible things. I had people say horrible things to me when I was grieving, and the number one thing was that's so selfish. Okay, well, you're obviously one of the people I think that's close enough in my life that I'm calling you the day after my mom passes away. And your response to me is not, oh my God, what can I do for you? It's that's so selfish. So that's kind of what started it. But I've also heard people, where they're like, I tried to take off because my dog that I've had for 15 years passed away. And they're like, it's just a dog. And that's also one of those things that is kind of part of that, like, shit not to say when people are grieving, and a lot of people, when I talk about that, they're like, well, what do you say? And I'm like, honestly, if it's one of those things where it's like, if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely.
Just keep your mouth shut. And really the best thing I think that you can ever do for someone is be there for them and actually do it. Not be like, do you need anything, and not do it. Be
Right.
like, do you want me to come do a load of your laundry?
Right.
I'll come do that, like, promise what you can do. Like, don't promise more than you can do, and don't ask how they're feeling.
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Well, like crap. Somebody just died. Like, how do you think I'm feeling?
Right. And it goes to just like also with everyday life. People either have lack of knowledge, limited of knowledge, or they just blurt out whatever's in their head. Take that 1 to 3 seconds and you be selfish, and how would you feel? What would you want to hear? Put yourself in the shoes of the audience. What would I need right now? And usually what I do is when somebody shares a loss, I say, well, tell me a memory that makes you smile, to kind of lighten it, because everybody's focusing on their pain and sorrow, which is fine. But at the same time, let's turn this into something positive, not the loss of them, but how are we going to live out their legacy? What is a memory? What is a experience?
Exactly.
Yeah.
For them?
Not everybody is us. And
Right.
not everybody's going to come the same way or the way that we would want them to come. So
Yeah.
I think it's great that you're having a show called Shit Not to Say. You know what I'm saying? I have a friend, she lost her son, and she does a podcast show as well. And she's always talking about things not to say. So sometimes people just need to know, they don't know what to say. They don't know how to react. We have to help them.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Any final words, ladies?
I want to go to Wonderland.
Yeah, absolutely. You are always welcome to come visit Wonderland. I always just like to kind of tell people that, like, since I am, a suicide prevention warrior, like right there with Andrea, like, I like to remind people that the National Crisis Lifeline in the United States has changed to a 3-digit text or dial code, 988.
Yep.
And that gives you free, local, compassionate, confidential resources anywhere in the 50 states of the United States. And then also people, a lot of times people may feel like if they were gone tomorrow, no one would care. But I care. So there have been people that I've heard about that I never knew, that I found out that they died as a result of suicide. And I grieved for them. I grieved for their families, for what people were saying online. There are celebrities I've never heard of that had passed away. So if you think that tomorrow you're not here and someone wouldn't grieve, that you're wrong. Because 1, there are people in your lives that would, and 2, when I find out about it, I'll grieve even if I've never met you. So know that someone will be sad if you're not here tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. See, I watched the video on TikTok yesterday. It was that basically it's this woman saying, if I died, flowers will come, cries will come, and stuff like that. You'd be questioning about love and stuff like that. Don't wait till then. Do it now.
Yeah.
I'd love for someone to buy me flowers. And now my partner's looking at me thinking, you idiots.
I think that's great.
Flowers.
I love flowers.
It's funny you mentioned
Love me now.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, Adam. If I may, it's kind of intertwined with this. So when my mother fell ill, they were 2 weeks. My father and my mother were 2 weeks in age from each other, and for their milestone birthday, I had gathered all their friends from every stage of life, And the night that I called, the day that of the event, sorry, I'm getting choked up, but the day of the event, I called my father, and my father was like, Mom's not able to make it today. So I disclosed what I did. And there was 70 plus individuals of both of their lives, from their marriage, grade school, childhood. And 2 days later, she passed. And I was just angry. Like, why the heck did that? So in the States, I'm not sure in UK, they have what they call a repast. So after the person passes on, you go with family, close loved ones, and friends after the ceremonies, and you celebrate their life with a meal or something, or a gathering.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah.
I got angry and I said, I just, how could I do this? Like, this is horrible. And the same person that told me she's here said, that was the greatest gift you ever gave her. Everyone in her life was there to share her life. And then 2 days later, and I remember coming home and she said to me, these were the cards that I was dealt, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I was with everyone today. And the next day or two, she passed. So celebrate now.
Celebrate now.
Yeah,
No.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll throw it to Alice in Wonderland, and it's our very merry unbirthday.
Aw.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Here we go. She's singing. Anyway, where can people find you?
Yeah, everything is on AllisonInWonderland.com, and that's Allison with 2 L's, ALLISON, in Wonderland.com, and you can find the podcast and all of my socials and all of those things on that website.
Awesome.
All right, bring us on your show. We want
I
to
think
be on
that's
your
it.
show too.
Unless you two got their
Absolutely,
bid square.
Yes.
Absolutely, I can't wait.
Anything? Anything you two want to say?
Thank you for coming.
Yes. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for calling Adam Allen a couple of times, because that was very funny.
Alan.
I'm going to change my name to that. No, I'm joking. Right, next week is a big one. We've got a men's mental health panel. All about self-empowerment. We're going to empower men to start talking. That's what we're going to be doing. But that is at 9 p.m. UK. Ain't got a clue what it is in America. I don't know. But and believe it or not, Robert Brooker, who's in the comments, he's going to be on the show as well.
Woohoo!
He's going to be on it. So, yeah. So we've got Canada coming on. We've got Chicago. We've got USA, rest of it. We've got Australia coming on. So we're going to be global.
Awesome.
So yes. Been speaking to Alan. He's doing good. Yes. Alan in Scotland, that is. I'm not in Scotland. I'm still in England. Right. I'm going to let you all go because I'm getting bullied here. Right. Please share this all. See you later.